That's a monster right there. Alright, what is going on, guys? Today I got a nice one right here. This is a I'm gonna call it a Chinese diesel generator. But what we're gonna figure out in today's video, are they fixable and are they worth it? Alright, right now I got this thing in a trade the other day. I actually traded my brand new Predator inverter generator, which was probably crazy, for this, which the inverter was a 4550 watt. This is a 7500 watt diesel, and it's equipped with a Yanmar clone 13 or 14 horse diesel. And the thing was, the people wanted to get rid of it, or get it fixed. They brought it here to get it fixed, and I said, hey, I got a brand new one, I'll trade you. And because I just wanted it because it was diesel, and I wanted to do some testing with these diesel engines. These are the same ones they're selling on eBay that you buy with a shaft sticking out, which this one comes coupled to the complete generator, which that's a very useful tool. And another thing is, this engine does not have one computer or one wire connected to the actual engine, except for the oil pressure sensor. And it can run without that. That's just emergency stop if it loses oil pressure. Okay, I've dealt with one of these generators before. The main problem, they got rid of the engine ran, but it wasn't creating power. I'm going to show you how to fix that in another video that's going to be called Titan generator that don't make power, because it's the same generator unit on gas or the diesel models. And some of the other Chinese off-brand generators run this same brushless armature. But back to the engine is what we're looking at today. Are these Chinese diesel engines worth it? And I did a video a while back. You go back and look, I bought a new one off eBay, like the 6 horse, 2 horse, or whatever it is, yellow one. And it wasn't that great. I mean, it ran, but it wasn't good for running a four-wheeler. A lot of people in the comments jumped in there and got on me about running a centrifugal clutch instead of a or centrifugal clutch instead of a torque converter. I don't think it really mattered, because the engine didn't turn fast enough to operate either one of those gasoline operated clutch designs. And it would work good for a generator or a water pump. That's what the motors really stand out for. Something that's going to run at a steady speed. Whatever, this one, the first thing that I got to fix is pouring oil out all around the head. And I'll grab the camera and show y'all. I pulled the valve cover off and put silicone around it because the gasket popped out. As soon as I did that, I seen it bubbling out right here between the head and the cylinder. And I know what's wrong. If you look, most engines have a crankcase breather somewhere, and that relieves crankcase pressure. And I've seen this before in these diesel engines. I think there's a problem with them, with building crankcase pressure and blowing out the oil, because the brand new one I had back in that video did the same thing. So whatever, I've pulled this off, and I'll get a close-up. Let me grab the camera. But if you look right here on the valve cover, you see this bolt sticking up, runs up right here, and I believe that's it. This looks like an oil vein, what oil would pump up, which there's no oil that pumps up here that I know of, that I've seen. There is an oil pump in this engine, and right here's the oil pump screen / filter thing. You can pull that out, clean your sump, got your injection pump, and whatever. But this one, when it's running, right here this is where the push rods run. It's just bubbling oil, and it's squirting out all over here. And that's not good. Whatever, under this, there's a hole right here. This is where the crankcase pressure vents into this pipe. It actually goes over here and down through, and it's supposed to be drilled into the intake before it goes in the intake valve. That way it pulls it out. And there's supposed to be like a spring and a ball, something like that. Right here's automatic compression release. You really need to use that for pull rope start or electric start. You just flip it and hit the starter. It makes it a lot easier on the starter and everything. But what we're going to do is we're going to pull this back off and probably pull the head off and see if we can fix these oil leaks, because a generator with an oil leak is not going to last that long. So if I crank this up, I'm going to might run it for 2 or 3 days running my cabin. And, you know, I noticed when it got here that the oil was on the tip of the stick and the shutoff was not killing it because it would just crank up and run fine. And it was really low on oil. You don't want a generator leak oil. That was pretty much it. It'll throw a rod pretty quick and you won't even know it. So the lights go out, I guess. But whatever. We're going to get that valve cover pulled back off. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about on this crankcase pressure deal. Alright, so basically the valve cover is put on with 3 10mm screws. You should take them out. My little impact here. And I know it's going to be stuck on there because I put silicone on it. But these things, parts are kind of far in between on these things. But yeah, it came off pretty easy. I actually put it back over the gasket. It was just missing a piece of it right here. It actually blowed out, was sticking out the side. This one might not. But you can tell it goes in that hole right there. And it looked like something might have been in there at one point. And it just goes down right here, right there. It goes in that hole, then comes down right here. So whatever, I don't see nothing in there. Alright, right here I actually seen the problem with the engine, and I didn't notice it till now when I'm editing the video, but that hole I'm showing in the video is actually setting on top of that dang cap nut that later on I'm going to talk about in the video, that they should be on the outside of the valve cover and the other one should be on the inside. And it's probably been like that since this thing came from the factory, because it only had 38 hours. It's been spraying oil out since it was brand new, and it's all because the valve cover is sitting on the nut. So make sure if you order a new engine, make sure the cap top nuts are on the outside of the engine. Now continue with the video. And what it's supposed to be is like sort of a PVC valve, but whatever, we're gonna blow in this hole right here and make sure it blows into where the air filter is. It's not plugged off, so I'm gonna grab an air hose and blow down in there. And like I said, we gotta fix the oil leak down here, so we're gonna have to pull the head off. Okay, right here's the air breather on the thing. Like I said, this is a Titan industrial. I've seen a lot of these with a gas engine, and a few here and there with a diesel. But okay, in here, you got an air filter. It's kind of coming apart. But up in there, that hole should be sticking out. That's what I'm thinking. So I'm going to try to hit it with some air again and see what it sounds like with this open. Well, I hear it coming out in the in there now, where the air filter is. So that hole's not stopped up. I'm gonna pull this off. So like I said, we still gotta pull the head off and get the oil leak right here fixed. Alright, so the looks of it, we got 3 tins down here in the breather. I actually used thread locker on there. Now I figured, see, like that one, the whole stud came out. I figured Titan buys these engines from China, because I know if it was a Yanmar, it would say Yanmar on it. I know Yanmars are pretty good. These people just copy the Yanmar design. See, that's actually one that holds the intake on. So we get that metal part pulled off there. Big paper gasket come all apart. This is going to go back with silicone, because I don't have a clue where to get gaskets for this thing. I probably maybe on the internet, but Like I said, we're gonna silicone it. Oh look, these wasn't even tight. They're just loose. I hope the head's tighter than that. So we'll get the intake pulled off. Which I probably could have just took the head off without taking the intake off, but so to get that off, because there's a stud in here, which there's two options here. I can pull this whole front cover off the motor, or I can take this stud out. So I'll probably just pull the front cranker card off. It's only got 4 more 10mm screws. Let's see what's back there. Really digging into one of these diesels. I believe this generator, if you was to buy it new, they're between $4,000 and $5,000, you know, from a dealer or whoever sells these things. Honestly, if I was gonna buy a new one, I'd go with a diesel. I'd get like a Kubota with a water cooled engine, which water cools has its good and bad spots, you know. Air cooled stuff's pretty good, as long as it doesn't get too hot. Now, if this was in like Alaska or somewhere it was really cold all the time, I wouldn't be too worried about it. But here it's 100 degrees in the summer. We got us a big cast iron fan, flywheel. Thing don't look too bad. She ain't got much compression. I can hear the rings leaking by. But should be able to pull that off now. Yeah, look at that big aluminum. They use part of the intake for actually to direct the air through there. Look, there's oil that's been pouring out all the way around the dang head on this thing. Dirt dauber nest. That's just straight grease. Whatever, all this needs to be nice and shiny clean. This, I'll bring you down here so you can see what I'm talking about. Right here, this is your cooling fins, and they're just packed with just grime. Right there's the intake. It's got a little bit of grime in it too. But blow by on a diesel is never good, so it might be halfway through its lifespan. But yeah, I'm pretty sure all that's from the oil leak. Oil leaking in here and it be running in a dusty environment, and it just packed the fins up. And then that causes the cylinder to get hotter than it needs to be, and actually causes more blow by to come out because the engine's having to work harder because it's hotter. So I'm gonna have to take and power wash that or something, take a brush and run through there, because it actually comes all the way out the other side of the engine. I'm pretty sure like that's clogged with dirt daubers. Yeah, that goes all the way through. So we'll get the head off. Looks like we got to undo this injection line right here, and maybe a bolt or two on the muffler over there, and we'll get it off. Seems pretty simple. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and get my injector line out of the way right here. Get it off of here. This thing, like I said, is pretty simple made. Nothing too complicated. Alright, I got my backup wrench. I got this one. I really need the line wrench for this, but this one maybe will do it. Yeah, stuff don't seem to be too tight on here. But yeah, I'll get this off the injection pump. Now here's the line. We'll have to bleed that back out when we put it back on. And all this stuff just needs washed. It is a mess. So right here we have our fuel return line. All right, I'm gonna pull this return line off next on this side. Right here. Like I said, this should be the same thing for your standard engine if you buy one like off the internet. So we'll just put this up here on top of the fuel tank so it doesn't leak. Okay, so right up under here, if you can see them right here's two 12s. I'm going to take those out with my impact. They hold the muffler up there. Well, there's one. And see if I can get the other one out. And both of those went down behind the starter. Right there. Yeah, a lot of the motors I've seen on the internet you could order didn't come with the starter either, and that is the option you want to have. Okay, we come over here, we got two 14 millimeters down here on the muffler, and I'll just get them out real quick. Nothing ever seems to be real tight on this thing. And I'll tell you, it shakes and vibrates a lot for stuff to not be that tight. So where I get these out right here, and this is another one of those where the whole stud unscrewed up out of the motor. And then up here the nut is actually coming off. And we got just two washers, a lock washer and a flat washer. Put them up there. And the whole muffler should just come right out of here real easy. Little flange like that. Now we're down to the goods of the thing. Alright, we're looking at a 17 millimeter for the head bolts. So we'll break them loose. I'm hoping that it'll be a metal head gasket under here so I can reuse it. Not a, what are those, like tinfoil compressed head gaskets or whatever. They got a little torque on them head bolts. Okay, there we go. So your two capped nuts go inside the engine. This way it doesn't leak oil down the head bolts or something is what that's supposed to be for. Got flat washers. And over here we just got regular nuts without caps. Most engines I've worked on, it's been the other way around. The cap nuts are on the outside to keep the threads from getting dirty, and the open nuts are on the inside. This one they done it backwards. So it would have been better if it had been the other way. Okay, now the head should just slide right off here. Theoretically. Oh yeah, she's loose. Alright, so I didn't want to dump nothing out of here, but everything seems to be there. Let's flip it over. It is just a flat looking head. Yeah, flat. And it looks like the piston comes so close it's actually smashed grease on top of it. Right there's the little injector where it sprays. And whatever, we all look good there. I was right on the head gasket. It is pretty much reusable. I'd replace it if I had one, but well, there's not even, it's just a copper ring is all the head gasket is. Like, that's it. So that, I'll probably, I shouldn't have picked that up, but okay. I see it's got some little cuts in the edge of it. They line up with these dowel pins down here. So that's pretty much forward. Right here is where oil leak is though. This is just a rubber O-ring that's pretty much dang got all mushy over time, and oil is pouring out, I'm guessing, all around it. I'm going to roll the piston to the top and see what kind of slop we've got. Yeah, she's got a little slop in her. I probably could buy a rebuild kit for this thing. Push rods only go one way. They got things on the bottom of them. They just set in some little lifter type things, which doesn't really have lifters because the valves you have to adjust yourself up there on the valve cover. But you want to make sure those stay put, not go down between there, because there's a hole in the middle right to the cam. And in the center it's actually pushing the injection pump. But yeah. Spins nice and easy. Now if I actually turn the fuel on, it squirts a little bit out over here. So, oh, looks good. So I'm gonna get a rag, wipe all this off, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna see if I got an O-ring that'll fit here, which I doubt it because this one is a square. Like, it's not round like a regular O-ring. I'm trying to actually pick it up out of here, which I can't get a grip on it. Let me grab a pick. But yeah, it's in there ways. Yeah, it's square. Like normal O-rings are round, and that's like flat. So I'm gonna coat it with a good layer of ultra gray, probably around the edges of that copper gasket, and clean all this and put it back together, and that should solve our oil leak issue. And we should be good to go after that. But I didn't see, I'm gonna blow through the valve cover too and make sure that that ain't stopped up nowhere in there, because it might be clogged, causing all that blow-by pressure, which if the thing's wore out, it's gonna have blow-by, which I just didn't figure it'd blow all the oil out like that. But I know diesel will do that. But the thing cranks right up with no glow plugs or nothing. It don't have glow plugs. Just one hit and it'll start. So I didn't think it was that wore out 38 hours. So we get this cleaned off and see what we can do after that. That stuff in that hose looks nasty. Alright guys, I'm back. I went ahead and ran all the parts through the ultrasonic cleaner, so they're all nice and shiny. Got the cylinder head, valve cover. I went ahead and took this off camera. It was on the back of the cylinder. It's the heat shroud or whatever. I got the motor all shined up about as good as I can get. Got all them holes cleaned out. Now I noticed when I was blowing this off after I took the O-ring out, these two copper shims flew up out of here, out of that groove, and I don't know what they're for, but they do something to do with the seal. But I'm gonna go ahead and squirt some silicone down in that groove, put the copper deals in, silicone the ring, and put it back. We'll put the head back on, silicone the valve cover. Got all the old gaskets cleaned off there, so we're gonna slap her together. So yeah, I just got some ultra gray maximum oil resistance right here, and I'm gonna dab a little bit on these copper pieces Like, these ain't the head gasket, but they was in this groove down here. I don't know what they're doing, but I've never seen a O-ring seal with copper behind it. But we're gonna put a little RTV in there. That way, maybe they'll seal up. Got a little bit more right here on this side. This don't make any sense to me right here, but I ain't gonna judge it. So it's probably there for a reason. So I'll put them back in there. Now that might have been one piece that broke in half. I don't know. And put a little silicone here. I ain't gonna put silicone on the head gasket part because I don't think it needs it. And this O-ring right here, I'm gonna cover it with the RTV pretty good because that's where our leak was at. Which it's all soft and everything. Like I said, it might have just been a lot of blow by from the engine running hot because it's covered in all that grease or whatever. Or it's just about wore out. But 38 hours don't seem like a lot for a diesel motor. Like I said, it's Chinese. No telling. Unless Titan uses actual Yanmar, I figured it would say Yanmar on it. But I know these generators are pretty good. They're like an off-brand. They usually say commercial, industrial, all that on them. I'm going to put a good layer around the outside of this right here. Between that and the motor. So I know that head is going to seal down on there. And not going to leak. So I don't want no more oil leaks. I hate oil leaks. So whatever, we'll get us a layer of that on there. And maybe that'll stop her from leaking. Alright, I got my cylinder head right here. And I'll hold these push rods up straight the best I can. And because you got to put them in before you tighten the head up. Slip them down in there. I was hoping once I got them propped up, they just sit there. Alright, let me try this one more time before we take that deal off. There we go. Got them that time. Yeah, head's all the way down. And valve's got a lot of slack. I bet they'll come out when I tighten it up though. Right here we got, just like it came apart, flat washer. Another flat washer. Then these cap nuts. I'm pretty sure somebody messed up somewhere because I believe these are supposed to be outside the engine. And the other nuts are supposed to be inside the engine. So that would make more sense to me, but... And then there's two more flat washers go right here. One right there, one over there. And then, like I said, I'm pretty sure these are supposed to be out here. Because I don't see a reason for them to be in there. So these motors I've seen before, they've been out here. Which it might get in front of that injection line. I'm going to put them back like they was. One right here. That one right there. And when you torque this thing back down, which I don't know the torque specs, so I'm just going to feel for it. I should have used the torque wrench when I took it apart and seen how much it took to break them loose. But this is just a 1-cylinder and it's air cooled, so ain't too bad. You torque it down in the X pattern. Now, if it was a water cooled multiple cylinder engine, I'd be a little worried because you can warp a head or something like that on a car engine, or a cylinder that's water cooled with more than one, or engine that's water cooled more than one cylinder. But I'll start right here. Just run it down till it touches. And come over here, run that one down till it touches. And then whatever, you can go around. Just run them down till they touch. The way I'm gonna do it. And I'm gonna start this one. I'm gonna give it a twist. Then I'm gonna go to this one. Give it a twist. Then I'm gonna go to this one. Give it a turn. Then this one. Give it a turn. That one. Turn. That one. Just kind of, you know, back and forth till they all feel about the same. And just get them pretty good and tight. It should be alright. You don't want to break them off now. But you don't want your head leaking. I wouldn't use the impact on these. Okay, that one's good. That one's good. That one's good. This one's a little tricky. Okay, yeah. That seems good right there. They're all about tight as they was. Now check your valves on that thing. That one's got a little slack. That one's got a little slack. Yeah, they're good. My nice clean valve cover right here. Sucker looks brand new. Alright. I'll put silicone on the bottom of it. On the bottom of it, just a little thin layer on here. That way we won't have no oil leaks. The good thing about that ultrasonic cleaner is it gets all the oil off of it, so the silicone will stick good to all the cracks. If you use silicone on, or RTV, gasket maker, or whatever, use it on something greasy, it's more the oil will fill the gap and squish the sealant out. Can happen. Now you don't want to use a bunch of this stuff. If you do use a thicker amount, you just snug the bolts down and actually let it sit there and dry, and then come back and tighten them up. And things work good that way. To actually make a gasket. But yeah, make sure there ain't no places where there ain't no sealant. Then take his valve cover and we'll put it back on there like that right there. Just let it sit down on there. And just start the 3 bolts in it. Just start them all, and I'll wait a few minutes for the silicone to sit. Alright, I'm back. I went ahead and cleaned the crank rope cover and the intake manifold, and I'm going to go ahead and tighten these down because the silicone's had enough time to sit. So we'll snug them up good and tight. So put the muffler on. Goes in just like that right there. And I'll start the stud in the bottom. Go ahead and tighten these up. Alright. There's some diesel leaking. Okay, now I'll go ahead and put the fuel line on. Alright. Then we got our fuel line right here. Plugs in. Screws on down there at the bottom. These was a 17 millimeter. Or 11/16 works too. Just tighten them back up good and snug. Well, don't tighten the top. Just leave it loose. And tighten the bottom up. Getting tight. Because you're going to have to bleed the air back out right here. I'm going to have to. Alright, I got the muffler put on. I will tell you, make sure you start all the bolts before you tighten it up. Because I had to go back and break them loose to get them two in the side over here. Because that has been a pain. But I'm going to go ahead and put the intake on. I'm going to put a little silicone on it because it ain't got a gasket no more. And the gasket actually goes all the way around. But to do with airflow or something there. But I'm just going to put a little around the square hole. Get that chunk out of there. I'll put a little bit on there. Ain't nothing crazy. It's just an intake for the air filter. We don't want it leaking dirt in there. So we'll just dab a little on there. That ought to be plenty right there. Put the cap back on. And slide that back on there. Like that right there. And I believe we got all the bolts right here. It was a couple of these here 10 millimeters. I should have put them in a ultrasonic cleaner, but I didn't. It'd look a lot better if I would have. But yeah, there's 3 of those. We'll get them put in there. Tighten back up. Something like down there. Nothing too crazy. Now there's the backing plate to that cover, the breather cover back on here. And long bolt goes at the bottom right there. It was actually a stud that should have stayed in there. And this one's a stud too, I believe. That goes in. Yeah, right here. I ain't too crazy about them studs. I'd be scared one of these nuts fall off in there, get sucked in the motor. That one was a little tough. Yeah, that goes like that right there. Oh man, I got a step ahead here. Maybe it'll go on, but I went in and cleaned this sucker up right here. The cranker cover got back to its nice gold color. Later on, I'll pull the rope part off and fix it. But maybe I can get this thing up over here. Yeah, there we go. It's just got barely enough room. Put it on there, and it actually has flat washers, and the bolts don't have like a flange on the back that go in it. And then just go in right here around the outside of just 4. I figured they'd have more than 4. It's a big old cover, but I only put 4 in it. It's got a rubber seal around the outside to keep it from vibrating metal on metal. Just run those back in there. But yeah, I was going to change the rope while I had it off, but I didn't have no rope, so I got the piece that was there out. Looks like there's dirt in this filter. That ain't good. Some dang dart daubers getting in there. But yeah, they're on the outside. Alright, I'm gonna put it back in there. The old filter. Later on, if I can find one, I'm gonna change it or do the oil change on it. But yeah, it just goes in there like that. Looks like it don't seal too good, but I guess that's how it goes. I got our cover here. It's kind of a S-looking design. It just slides over the filter. I figured there'd be a nut on the inside there, but I'm guessing the air filter just sits right on this. Like that right there. My dang tire popped over here. I aired it up when I rolled it in here. But yeah, that's on there good. And now we'll try to crank her up, bleed the line. To bleed the air out of this line, I'm going to hold my compression release down up here and turn the fuel on over here. It's got a lever on the side of the motor. I'll show you. There's a lever over here. This is the on position. This is how you cut it off. It just turns the fuel on inside the motor somehow. But I'm gonna hold the compression lever down until we get fuel coming out over here, and then after we got fuel, I'll let it go and let it crank up and run. That way I don't wear out the starter trying to crank on it. So alright. Alright, I'm seeing a little fuel come out. I'm going to shut my line off here. gonna poke a screwdriver and see if I can get it to idle, but it didn't work. That sucker's rough. But I ain't seeing no oil leaking, so we should be alright. Whatever. This is my diesel generator. Next video I'll show y'all how to make it where it makes electricity. And show y'all what was wrong with it there. Everybody like and subscribe.